The following may contain offensive language, adult humor, and or content that some viewers may find offensive. The views and opinions expressed by any one speaker does not explicitly or necessarily reflect or represent those of Mark Radulich or W2M Network. Please listen with caution, or don't listen at all.
Hooray for Hollywood, where stars are living large, in mansions with their servants and their credit cards in charge, with fame that's fleeting, but the egos never change, where everyone's a genius, except the ones who really arrange. Hooray for Hollywood, where the scandals always sell, where every whispered secret is a new tabloid's tell. Oh, how we adore the endless red carpet galore. Hooray for Hollywood, where less is always more.
Listen, Alexa, shut up a second. So, my daughter... my daughter who is...
I don't deserve this kind of abuse.
Yeah, you do. And deserve, listen, as Saint Snoop once said, deserve ain't got nothing to do with it. Well, listen to me. I already told you once. Let me tell you 5 more times. My daughter said to me, I am against this AI music that you do, and I am against AI art because you're taking jobs away from real people who do art, whether it be physical, musical, visual, etc. And I said, well, you're 14. You're allowed to have wrong opinions. However, I will continue to do what I'm doing because I enjoy it. Makes me happy. It brings me fulfillment. And God knows people don't. So, I might as well keep doing what I'm doing. A few months later, that being yesterday, we're in the car driving, like we do. And my daughter says to me, Father, she called me Father. She says, Father, I want to cover Damn You Hollywood, like your opening podcast theme. Like, I want to do a cover. I want to sing it myself. And I said, well, Lily, if you would like to sing our opening to Damn You Hollywood, if you can get that recorded for me in a way that's listenable, I will absolutely use your cover version of the Damn You Hollywood podcast theme on the Damn You Hollywood podcast show. And she said, I will find a way to motivate myself to do that because I really want to cover this. I love this song. The power of AI, everybody. It overwhelms you. Robert?
I assume she knows that the intro to this was just AI generated.
Yeah, no, that was implied. Yes.
Okay.
Despite her reservations, despite her resistance, it won her over because, like legitimately because I released Radulich and Broadcasting Network the album on Sunday, so we were listening to it in the car because I force feed this shit on my kids, gravy pipe right in their mouth, and like they sing the songs, they hum them, and Lily said to me one day, she was just like, damn you, Father. These are catchy tunes. I cannot resist the catchiness. I'm like, they're designed that way. Anyway, would you like to start the show now, Robert?
There's a lot of things I would like.
I would like a trip to Europe.
Oh, wow. Thanks for reminding me that show existed.
I'm doing Daffy Duck. What are you doing?
Yeah, I was going to say, that's from Drip Along Daffy.
Yeah.
Okay, there is that one. That's not the first place I heard that gag, though.
I would like a trip to Europe. I would like to introduce myself. Drip Along Daffy.
Daffy's the name.
Yeah, it's where was it? Yeah, cartoon Bobcat, who's a cop, and I can't remember the title of it for the life of me. Bonkers. Thank you.
Drip Along Daffy was around much longer than Bonkers.
Oh no, I know that.
Bonkers
I'm just saying
like
it's the first place I heard it.
Thing compared to
I heard it on Bonkers before I heard Daffy Duck do it. So.
Well, that's just a side of your poor
Ladies
upbringing.
and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, you are listening to a Radulich and Broadcasting AI-driven podcast, Damn You Hollywood. And here's your artificially intelligent host, Robert Winfrey. Hoo-ah!
My intelligence is spotty, not artificial. I earned this.
We do earn the abuse, don't we, Robert?
We do. All right. Hey, everybody. You've already heard we've got Alexis back with us for this evening. And, well, unfortunately, we're here to discuss the Black Phone 2.
The Black Phone 2 is a 2025 American supernatural horror film directed by Scott Derrickson from a script he co-wrote with C. Robert Cargill and produced by Jason Blum. It serves as a sequel to The Black Phone from 2021. The film stars Ethan Hawke, Mason Thames, Madeleine McGraw, Jeremy Davies reprising their roles, with Demián Bichir joining the cast. Black Phone 2 premiered at Fantastic Fest on September 20th, 2025, and was released in the U.S. by Universal Pictures on October 17th. The film received generally positive reviews from critics and grossed $42.8 million worldwide with a budget of $30 million. More on that later.
So, let's just take a second here before we get into this movie in particular.
To make
we reviewed The Black Phone.
We certainly did, Ollie.
We were generally positive.
Yes.
Look, it was not like a world-shattering cinematic experience, but I remember us being generally positive.
For a film adaptation of a horror short film where we've seen so many movies do that, and it's a complete abomination, Night Swim, anyone.
I remember saying The Black Phone was good. Doesn't need a sequel. It was fine the way it was. I'm having a hard time with it being in 2021 because I feel like I saw it with one of the circus freaks that I was dealing with. Yes, I was. I saw it June 24th, 2022. I absolutely saw it with one of the great mistakes of 2022.
I actually saw it with Dorian Price. I remember because that was the night I gave him the Yellow Lantern.
Dorian Price, the lots of fun of 2021.
So with him and his now ex-girlfriend, I gave him the Yellow Lantern ring that he requested I buy for him at a convention in Smallville.
If I drag you around and demand you buy me things, will you do that too? Or do I have to have long hair and be hot?
Okay. No, what happened was this company was selling superhero-themed rings.
Mm-hmm.
And they had, so I don't know if either one of you know much about the Lantern Corps, like the Green Lantern, but there's all these other colors, and I got a blue lantern for myself, and I took a picture of it and put it on Facebook. I'm like, hey, check out what I got. The Yellow Lantern represents fear, so Mr., Pumpkin King messaged me. He's like, how much is it? I'm like, to which I said, it's $40. Why? And before I could type, why do you want one? He immediately, PayPal's me the money. I'm like, okay, that's a yes.
You should have got him the orange one.
My kid had a yellow ring for a while that he bought from the comic book store I used to go to. There was like a jar full of rings.
Yeah, I've seen those at a lot of ones. I always feel bad because there's like tons of leftover orange, indigo, and green. Because nobody wants avarice, nobody wants compassion, and green. It's like, well, everyone already knows green.
Yeah, I think my daughter got the black ring and my son got the yellow one.
Your daughter picked death. Good to know.
Yes, my wonderful, bright, happy daughter picked death. So I remember watching this in 2022. June of 2022 is when it was in actual theaters. And I remember saying at the time, I'm like, it was fine. It was a good little horror picture. It definitely played on suspense. I think, but I remember saying that to you at the time, as you were saying before, this doesn't need a sequel. Like we've done this once. It was moderately successful. Let's not go overboard. And it was not long after that. I feel like maybe after Five Nights at Freddy came out, where Universal, Disney announced Sequel Mania, and Universal was like, "Hold my beer." It was like everything that made a profit, we're doing a sequel of, and this was one of the ones that got announced. And I remember somewhere in there, maybe October of 2022, I took Lily to Halloween Horror Nights, and one of the houses was the Black Phone. Which the movie is about a kid in the basement talking to ghosts on a phone. Make that a haunted house.
The Grabber apparently has potential to be a new horror icon. There's this commercial for I don't know what soft drink it is, but they've got all these horror icons on it, all the new horror icons. Mm-hmm. And you have the scene of the dude in the shop trying to pick one up, and he runs into Freddy Fazbear, and then there's Megan doing the dance, and he turns around and there's the Grabber. So people are identifying with him as a new, horror icon.
I'm going to ask. So something I don't pay attention to, and you guys are a little bit better in tune to this than I am. One, because you for some strange reason, talk to people. But, I'm kidding you. You like go to conventions. That's your job. Sell jewelry at these conventions. And you are much more inclined to be engaged with people in pop culture than I am. And Robert is like on YouTube and Reddit and shit. So,
he has a much more active life on Twitter than I do.
So with that said, my question to you both is there a lot of online engagement with the grabber? Because let me tell you why I'm asking this, and then we'll get into it. One of the things that the drinker brings up a lot, and Andre to some extent, is that, and Echo Chamberlain, I think, also got into this a little bit, is the thing that creates fandom is people engaging with each other online, speculating, writing fan fiction, writing/fiction, making Reddit posts, like basically creating a lot of second and third degree art from the original and sharing it with each other. And from that engagement, studios and the success of the original film, from that engagement, then the studios will draw the conclusion this is worth doing again. Is there that kind of thing with the grabber, Alexis?
I would say not as big as something like Five Nights at Freddy's or Art the Clown.
Art's the big one.
Yeah. Art. Oh my. Okay. I just worked GalaxyCon. David Thornton was a guest there. So many Art the Clowns. I got actually a few pictures of a few sexy Art the Clowns. In fact, this was my favorite joke by the end of the evening. There was a big party / costume party for cosplayers. And I saw at least 3 or 4 Art the Clowns going into it while we were packing up and closing down our booth. And at least 2 of them looked incredibly like art from the movie, like the hook nose, the perfect makeup, just like really well done. And I looked over at my assistant and I said, I am willing to bet you $100 that David Thornton has, if not now, has at least once gone to these parties in full Art the Clown makeup and hasn't told anyone. Because, I mean, Art the Clown doesn't talk. As long as he's got that full makeup on, you could not tell it's him.
So, just briefly about the grabber. He's got a good aesthetic.
Yeah.
Like, if you wanted to create a good horror villain.
But it looks like he's got Joker face with that chin.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. The decision in the original to use the, classical stage devil mask was a really good one.
Mm-hmm.
It's got a strong profile. It's got a strong silhouette. So there's good stuff there. Part of it is, this is a larger discussion, but so what was the way I heard this phrased? Okay, here's how it was phrased. Mark, can you name a single new or unique character that penetrated into the general pop culture zeitgeist post Jack Sparrow
and stayed there?
Yeah, it has genuinely stuck around.
No.
I'm assuming you're not talking about comic book characters, because obviously those have been around much longer.
Yeah, no,
we've seen new versions of them.
No, he's asking about characters like Megan or some shit, and that's my problem with answering that question is there are these blips, which may or may not be artificial, but they're just blips.
Yeah, I mean, sadly or not, depending on your perspective, I guess, the actual answer to the original creations that have penetrated pop culture after Pirates is actually the Minions.
Fair.
But you're not wrong. Horror icons are the ones that have really stuck around. Again, Freddy Fazbear, Megan, Art the Clown.
So part of the problem there is, horror icons tend to be, the new ones at least are a little bit too segregated. Art is kind of the only one that's sort of universally acknowledged. And even then, the Terrifier films are divisive.
Let me throw out just a really quick, somewhat counter argument or a little pushback. The psycho clown aesthetic motif, however you want to look at it, has been around forever.
Oh, sure.
We just keep doing that. Art the Clown, you may be saying you're arguing specifically, but I would argue that if it was Art the Dog Catcher, it wouldn't have worked as well. the fact that he's doing an already tried and true thing, we're Pennywise and all these other killer clown characters. Like, there's an actual like fear of clowns out there that they're playing with, and so I'm not arguing with you too much, but I think Art the Clown specifically is a bit artificial based on history, as opposed to say something like Freddy, who I think was. I'm sure if you look hard enough, you can find things, but I think most people would see Freddy as an independently created, iconic character as opposed to playing off of historical motif.
May I take that actually, Robert?
Go ahead.
Part of what appeals with Art the Clown is David Thornton's performance. He's a professional mime, and Art the Clown doesn't talk. He is able to convey so much with his body language and his face. It's thick makeup. It's got the hook nose. It's got the skull cap on, but it does not hinder his performance at all. I bet you would agree with me that if Freddy Krueger, if Robert Englund didn't talk as Freddy Krueger, he would not last in your memory that much. He's got, again, the thick makeup and everything. The costume is iconic, but it's Freddy's wit and the way he taunts his victims that adds to it. That's what makes part of it so scary. I think that having someone like Thornton who was able to act through the costume and through the makeup and still give that truly scary performance is what has made him so iconic.
It's also, as a sort of generalized thing, there's been a lot of attempts to make scary clowns. There haven't been a lot that actually stick.
All right.
It's kind of the same thing. Like, not every killer that wears a mask and wields a stabbing implement sticks around.
Sure.
But Michael Myers.
Say, how many have we had compared to just Pennywise? It's like for every Pennywise, we got 100 failed clowns.
Yeah. And clown college student loans ain't cheap. So point there being, they're trying with the grabber to kind of make him something. And again, there's something to the character design that I think might kind of work. Ethan Hawke's performance is okay. Like, he fulfills the obligation.
His voice works really well for the character. He knows how to use that creepy, longing, taunting voice. He makes it work.
Another thing to consider, just to throw this into your argument, we are also living in a very disposable age.
Yeah.
Not that long ago on this podcast, you're like, this podcast is disposable. Like, nothing is meant to stick anymore. And I wonder, when you think about the way the world operated pre-internet, you only saw Freddy if he showed up in a movie, and those movies didn't come out all that often. So maybe a airing of the movie on television or something, and then the 1 or 2 seasons of whatever show he did. But for the most part, he wasn't saturating the culture. He wasn't so easily found. None of the horror icons were. You had to wait and see if a movie of theirs came out, if it came out. And then, like, I remember as a kid, there would be like the local carnivals and stuff, and you would go into like a haunted house, and there's like a fucking picture of Freddy right there on the wall, like it's the uncle. But it was you weren't. You weren't able to see Freddy every single day. So if you did see him somewhere in your life, it was like, oh my goodness. Now, like, anything you want, anything you can imagine, especially with the recent rise in artificial intelligence technology, it's the Jake Roberts thing. Like, first it's one girl, then it's two with a donkey. It just goes on and on and on. Where, like, nothing lasts because everything is too easily found. So it's like, maybe the grabber might work, and in whatever argument you're going to make next about it, but because they shove the grabber everywhere, like, no sooner is the grabber in a movie, he's also an amusement park ride. He's also with this. He's also with that. He's on the wrapper on your taco. Like, he's everywhere. To the point where, like, And there's so much of that. There's such a long tail of that sort of thing, of oversaturated marketplace icons, that I don't think anything sticks with anybody. My thought.
It's definitely not easy. I think the other part here is, to your point, both Blumhouse and Universal went, hey, we made this first one for cheap. It was moderately successful. And you know what? Maybe we can do something with that. Because that's the part of the business model, is something successful. Can we do anything else with it? So they cooked up this one. And the trailers did not give me a lot of hope.
Trailers rarely give you hope. I have yet to hear you actually start a show saying, I saw the trailer and I got excited.
In Robert's defense, I've said 2 or 3 times this year that every single trailer I saw promised me a movie that was significantly worse than it actually was. And was significantly different. The one I keep going back to is Caught Stealing, where it's like this, zany, Smoking Barrels, full name.
Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels.
It's this zany Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels type of movie.
Borderline Guy Ritchie.
Yeah,
very Guy
it's not
Ritchie.
that at all. It's like, oh my god, this isn't what I thought it was. Like the kids are looking at me with single tears. It's like what are we watching here?
That's actually what I was thinking when I first saw the trailer. I own Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels on DVD. I freaking love that movie.
Don't believe the fucking trailer, because that's not that movie. It is not zany fun. And that's happened a bunch this year, so I can kind of see Robert's point.
Isn't Caught Stealing just like the super dour, like pre 9/11, grungy?
It's a fucking sad movie, is what it is.
And yeah, like the trailer doesn't actually tell you anything useful about it.
Right.
And we've had, again, a lot of those. I mean, Mark still is a little bit bitter about No Hard Feelings.
Yeah, No Hard Feelings promised me a return to the 80s sex comedy.
The 80s are the American Pie era of crappy sex comedies.
I got Jennifer Lawrence fighting people on a beach naked, and that's as far as it got.
And then again, he gave you something else. So the fact that like the modern art of making trailers is basically turn everything into some...
Let me help you. Everyone took the wrong lessons from the trailer controversy over Suicide Squad.
Yeah. That's or the Ghostbusters.
Oh yeah.
So that's kind of where we are with trailers. Like I used to get excited about movie trailers, and then I started watching a lot more of the movies that came attached to them. And
I ruined you. Sorry.
Not just you, man. Like they did it to themselves. So I didn't have a lot of hope because, we've turned the grabber into Freddy Krueger was not something I was interested in. So I suppose before we get into this, lastly, to kind of kick this, Mark, you didn't have a whole lot of expectation for this, but what sort of did you have as far as expectations?
Actors that could act. I was disappointed.
Be nice.
No.
Alexis, same question.
I really didn't have that much in the way of expectations. I really enjoyed the first movie. I remember giving it an honorable. I can't remember if I gave it an honorable mention or if it was at the bottom of my top 10 of that year. But I do remember talking about it.
I will say this. I recently, let me give you some background here, and this is especially for Alexis, and she'll know why in a second. But I did my TikTok for Tron Ares, which was, I had all these notes about it. I had the previous 2 reviews, and I threw our transcript into ChatGPT, and I said, make me a script out of all of this, out of things we said about this movie. And I read that on TikTok, and the answer I got, and the response I got back was, think less, enjoy more. So I died.
TikTok.
Just right there. Just died. And I was brought back to life through, Ouija and hate. And I sat
Sorry
at my computer.
About the hate part of that.
I sat at my computer and I said, what am I going to do about this? And I said, hey, I remember when I talked about this. Those many years ago. It was Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, where I looked at the computer, and the Chris Baileys and Ronnie Adams of the world looked back at me, and I told them, if my opinion of things hurts your feelings, go fuck off. get thicker skin. Said it a lot nicer than that, but that was basically what I was saying. And I was like, I should put that out again as a TikTok. So I did. And you can do a thing where you can respond directly to someone's comment and it'll show up on your screen. So I did that, and then I put my own little stuff in there, and voila.
Yeah, every time you mentioned me in that, you rolled your eyes.
Acting. Genius. Line. So that was the context behind why I did it. But I had this thought when we were watching, when we were going to watch the Black Phone, and after when we were talking, my kids and I were talking about it. And I was thinking, like, how, for the vast majority of people, movies don't matter. They are a thing to consume or not consume. They don't play a significant role in most people's lives. Ask me why I know that. So I recently developed a list of, like, date questions, essentially, like questions you would ask somebody on a date, like which favorite movie, which favorite color, 25 of them that have some degree of therapeutic value, and I use them as prompts for therapy sessions where we're having a hard time filling up the time. And half of them this works really well with. This first question. The first question is, what's your favorite movie to rewatch when you're sad? Alexis, just name a movie, please. What's your favorite movie to rewatch when you're sad?
Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
Beautiful. So when I ask 50% of the people that I work with that question, I don't really watch movies. And I thought about that as I was watching the Black Phone too. I was like, every week we come on here, and I'm not like, and that's the end of the show, everybody. No, just hear me out. I'm watching this, and I'm just like, every week we come on here and we do criticism. We criticize the movie the way you're supposed to. We look at the history of it, the context, the finances, and by the time we're done, we have talked everything there is to talk about this movie in theory. This matters to us. We want to do a good job at it. We like coming here. We like talking to each other. And this type of art form, this type of discussion matters to us. And I was like, and there's an audience for this sort of thing, or nobody else would make YouTube videos doing the same thing that we're doing in their own way. But to the vast majority of people, not only doesn't matter, but the movies themselves don't matter. Whether it's the Black Phone or the Nightmare on Elm Street or Gone with the Wind, it's all the same to certain people out there. And I was like, that is a humbling thought. That this thing that we care so much about, that we spend 2 hours a week talking about it, matters nothing to a good portion of at least the Western world. And I thought about that while I was watching this movie. And I thought about what the guy said. Think less, enjoy more. And I was like, well, there's two approaches I can take to this movie. If I think about it, if I do my job, if I put all of the effort I do normally into this movie, I'm going to hate it. I'm going to come on here and I'm going to tell you all the bad things and I'm going to sound angry. However, if I don't think about this and I just enjoy what I saw, it's still stupid in certain areas, but I don't hate it anymore. I'm just like, it's fine. I said that to my kids, and they both turned into Ronnie. There's my son who, as soon as it was over, screamed, "This sucked! Tell me it sucked, Father! Please validate my existence and tell me this sucked." And there's my daughter behind him, Dad, I loved it. Tell me you thought it was great. And I'm just like, it's just fine. It's fine. It exists. It was 2 hours of time I spent in a dark theater listening to my girlfriend snore. Your thoughts, Robert, before we get into the plot synopsis?
I think it doesn't help that the modern landscape of technology like incentivizes everything being short and everything being unbearably disposable. So people, I don't really watch movies. Well, what do you do? I doom scroll 15 minutes clips on Facebook or Instagram or TikTok.
I talk incessantly in circles to other people who are also insane. That's the general consensus. That's what I can say.
Like, we have lost something as far as this goes, and I don't know exactly what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And not everything that you lose when it comes to some of these like movements forward culturally is
help you.
bad to lose, but we've lost something, and I don't think we've replaced it with anything good.
Here, I'll throw this out there, and then we really got to get going on this. I watched The Phantom of the Opera, the 2004 movie, last night with Gerard Butler, because I'm reviewing it on Thursday.
Yeah,
God help you.
I don't hate that movie.
I just hate his singing.
It's good in a narrow range.
I'm going to start singing Flood the Earth in Gravy. So
This time we didn't get the gravy.
that is what inspired that song, yes. So I looked at that, and never mind the movie or Alexis's comments on it. If you just look at the time that they're portraying that opera house, how ornate it is, what an event that is. That now, operas used to be a fairly regular occurrence. Like, again, you watch a movie like Amadeus, concerts, operas, live performances, they couldn't be an everyday thing, but that was the entertainment of Western culture at the time. These were events. Like, it was an honor to go to these things. It was.
You're right. Opera was the equivalent. Going to the opera is the equivalent of you going to Gwar.
Yeah. Like, this is a night out, and people got dressed up for it, and it meant something. And people, I think, even if you were kind of doing silly Shakespeare and you were appealing to the dumbest of the dumb, it was still an event, and it was still appreciated, and it sat on, no matter how dumb it was, it sat on lofty heights of the culture. That's what we've lost. And scarcity creates value. The opposite of scarcity, creates
Familiarity breeds contempt is the way that phrase goes.
Thank you. I was really struggling there. And I think that there's where we are. It's like culture, amusement is so easy to get now that there's no value anymore. And so in turn, people don't see the value in it. Like, why watch a movie? I would rather talk to my daughter, or I would rather bang my head on the wall, or whatever it is people do. We talk about this fairly frequently, so I'll say this and then I'll let you have the last word, Robert, and then you can go right into the plot synopsis. Wink. When, if it wasn't for the fact that I make my kids go watch movies, it's become like a family tradition, and it's a way for me and my son to bond. How many people are creating culturally literate kids? They don't give a fuck. They just don't. Going to the movies is an event. Like, if there's, it is only an event when it's like Minecraft. And look what that turned into.
A war on theater employees.
That's kind of the point that I was trying to make. It became less about the movie, or the video game for that matter, and more of an opportunity for a bunch of neurodivergent kids to act out.
I love that the redo of the trailer actually included a quote that said, "Please do not bring live chickens to the theater." Like, this was apparently a thing that required that much attention.
Years from now, when aliens are examining human culture, and there was the live chickens in the theater era. What was that? It's performance art kind of a thing? No, it was just a lot of culturally illiterate idiots, mostly children.
Yeah, I mean, my brother was on a youth hike the other.
It's really funny that this review brought out this conversation, but go on.
My brother was on a youth hike this last weekend. Overnight thing. The youth in our ward are prepping for a 50-miler next year. And you don't just do that out of the blue. That takes some time to get used to hiking and packing and the whole 9 yards. And he went to be one of the adults, and he played Tail End Charlie, which is a phrase that I picked up from a Vietnam veteran. It's the guy at the back of the line. And the number of times he had to tell these teenagers, who would just occasionally break out into random pseudo-spontaneous recitation of short-form content brain rot.
Yeah.
Regularly he said no. None of that back here. If you want to do that, you have to walk fast enough to be up at the front of the line. And it seemed to deter that a little bit because nobody wanted to walk that fast, I guess. But the fact that we've turned current culture into nothing but bizarre, random sound bites.
It's so funny you mentioned that. Jonas, well, like, 'cause he's in school. He's in 6th grade. He's surrounded by 6th graders, and he does not want to be othered or ostracized, so he participates in the culture in which he's surrounded by, and I don't fault him for it. So he has to do 6-7.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Another dumb shit. And then he comes home and he looks at me and he was like, "I'm surrounded by idiots, and I have to play like I'm one of them. I have to pretend that this is funny.
I have to put on my I have to put on my clown makeup so as not to be attacked."
Yeah, exactly. He's like, Father, I hear you, and I hear the words you say, and I do live out your lessons, but then I go to school and I am drowned in gravy.
Yeah.
So much gravy.
So anyway,
the black phone.
That discussion was more prescient and interesting than anything we're probably going to say about the actual movie. So.
Yup. That's why I allowed to go on for as long as I did.
The Black Phone 2 opens with a phone call from the mother of the two kids from the first one. We're going to be following them again. It's Finn and Gwen. She's at this Alpine Christian summer camp. She goes out, makes a phone call. We only get half the conversation. Then that falls apart. Then we go to 1982. Very early 80s. The kids from the first one are now teenagers. They're in high school, and Finn is a messed up kid, so he gets into fights. Gwen
and there were no teachers around to stop him.
It's the 80s.
I was going to say, it was, he's there before I could. It was the 80s. There was no anti-bullying campaign yet.
You're not allowed to full-on assault a kid in the schoolyard to the point where he's bloodied up.
Yeah.
Right, go on.
For those of you who weren't around for this, school violence to this like this in the 1980s had a general understanding of, if it's mutually agreed upon combat, we kind of just let you fight it out. And especially if it's just one-on-one, like if it's a bunch of people, then okay, we break it up. But this was two kids who both wanted to fight, so you get it out of your system. It wasn't healthy, but that was the style of the time.
Along with the onions on the belt.
Indeed. So the daughter, the sister Gwen is still kind of having some weird dreams because that was her thing from the first movie. She has dreams and visions, and she inherited them from her mother, and it's, messes you up a little bit to see things, to hear from the dead. That's a little bit screwy. And Finn has turned to marijuana to dull his pain and senses as he still hears out-of-order phones ring. And he occasionally answers them just to say, "I can't help you. Please stop calling me." But he won't touch booze because his dad was an alcoholic. So instead he goes to, again, weed. And
apparently not the good shit from what we find out later.
And the apple does not fall far from the tree. Is the way that goes. So after we find out that the phone call that is made by the mother, again, years ago in like the 50s, 40s.
No, I think he said 50. I think he said like 58. So
might have been. I forget exactly. 40s or 50s.
Yeah.
50s. It was definitely 50s. Never mind. Anyway. That phone call was answered by Gwen in a dream where she then slept-walked to the grabber's house and answered the old phone in the basement because, hey, remember the first movie. And that she then gets a location for that, and she finds pamphlets and goes, "Look, I'm being called here by supernatural forces. This camp has a counselors in training program. It's a decent summer job. Well, winter job, but
Okay, quick question. Aside from winter sports camps, which I know are a thing, it's like for kids who want to become more professional snowboarders or skiers or whatever, is winter camp a thing? Because it is not something I've ever heard of here in the Midwest.
Couldn't tell you one way or the other. Wasn't a thing that I was ever attached to, but I moved around a whole lot as a kid, so that was never really a thing for me anyway. So that's where so she's like, "I'm going to go there." And Finn's like, "You know what? Have a good time. I got my own problems." And then, her sort of boyfriend, the guy, they're kind of dancing around each other like teenagers do. He's going to go with her, and Finn, kind of the subtle urging of his dad's like, "Fine, I can't let her be up there with the boy alone. That's just a bad idea. So he goes, and on the way up, they get caught in this giant snowstorm. They barely make it to the camp. And while there, the old payphone out back that doesn't work starts working for Finn. The grabber menaces him over the phone, because of course he does. Gwen has visions of 3 horribly murdered children from years ago in the camp. They talk with the current director, who's like, oh, wait. It turns out their mom was one of the counselors here. That's why she made the phone call earlier. And surprise, surprise, Ethan Hawke was here as a young guy. So the grabber was one of the counselors here as well. And it was him that killed the kids back then. They were his first victims. This is where the movie started to lose me. Gwen's sleeping becomes, again, a knockoff of the Power of Freddy, where anything that the grabber does there is mimicked in real life, so she gets injured a few times.
Was the pitch for this movie, can we do a Nightmare on Elm Street but neuter it completely and make it for pussies of the 2025? Because that's what this movie feels like to me. It was like somebody was like, listen, we have a lot of considerations and qualifiers and neurodivergence out there, so make Nightmare on Elm Street for them, the Black Phone 2.
Well, it's better than making another Nightmare on Elm Street. We saw what happened last time they tried that.
Yeah.
I'll yell about that in a minute if I feel like it. So they start looking for the kids, because if they can find these kids and put them to rest, that will remove some of the grabber's power that tethers him to this world. He tries to kill Gwen because that would hurt Finn the most. Finn has to confront his past trauma because it's a movie in the 2020s. Of course, one must confront trauma.
That's all movies are about now. Identity and trauma. That's all we know.
And I hate it so much.
Yep.
Quinn gets attacked. People see that weird stuff's happening because it's a religious camp. We naturally have to have our reference to the bizarre religious Christians. Like, no, that girl has the devil in her. Like, oh, shut up. That was so.
This is where I started to throw my pants at the movie.
So unnecessary. Anyway, they go up to the lake, but they figure out that the kids are, based on some of the things they've said, locked under the ice of a lake. They figure out there's only really one lake that fits the bill for where you could have stashed a body during winter.
And where the grabber in his youth spent the most time.
So they do a little bit of pseudo detective work. They start investigating that. The grabber shows up. There's a big final showdown. He's defeated. Along the way, it's revealed that their mother didn't commit suicide. She got a vision of him abducting the first kid from the spree that led to him abducting Finn in the first movie. And he found her and then staged her suicide in their home because he was the author of all their pain.
Do you want us to hit the button? Because we can hit the button if you want.
No, don't hit any buttons. I'm mad at Content ID.
Fair enough.
Again, they have a big final fight. The kids are risen from the bottom of the frozen lake. They help everyone fight off the grabber. He goes back to his frozen layer of hell. That would be the ninth circle somewhere, for those of you who follow Dante's cosmology. And the family comes back together. The mom gets a call on the broken phone the mom calls Gwen on the broken phone to say that boy isn't heaven nice, and everyone goes off, and we'll probably try to do some sequel in another 5 years.
The Black Phone 3. I don't even have a funny title.
Bigger and blacker.
There we go. The Black Phone 3 coming back hard again.
It can cross over with the Anaconda franchise.
Wonderful.
Okay, I'm done. I promise.
Alexis, tell everyone how much you like this movie. It is a cinematic masterpiece.
No. Okay, look, I did not hate this movie as much as you guys, but I am not going to get
on... You hate anything as much as us?
No. I actually still am able to cling to that one little ray of sunshine and pull myself out of Lake Cactus. That's the frozen lake, by the way.
Oh, good.
I'm a big fan of Dante Alighieri, okay? I have the books. And I knew, okay, I did not really have any expectations going in on this. I enjoyed the first movie, but this is a bad sign. I remember a decent amount from the first movie, mostly lines of dialogue is what I remember. I remember a lot of the phone calls from the kids to Finney. I did not remember that movie took place in 1978. So when it shows up, it says 1982. I'm like, wait, what? So shows that there is staying power from the first movie, but not a lot of it. And there are elements of this movie that I do really enjoy. I enjoy Scott Derrickson as a director. There are some brilliant scenes in this movie. I think my favorite is when Finn is on the phone in the booth, and the three kids are talking to him, and the way the camera moves around, and the kids appear on the other sides of the glass with each spin. I was blown away by the creativity of that. I was like, okay, that is just really good filmmaking right there. They do it later with him talking to the grabber and the way they're able to move it around. So the grabber sometimes disappears within the shot. Again, I thought that was really great.
That second shot with the grabber has also a really nice bit of subtext where when Finn is the one like angry and questioning, he's the one that turns to face the grabber when the grabber has the upper hand in the dialogue and the position. Anytime Finn turns, the grabber appears in front of him. So you can kind of track the momentum of the conflict with how that's going.
Yeah. I loved the use of 8mm for the dream sequences. Scott Derrickson kind of channeling back his, roots with Sinister, which
that change in filter to make it feel like it's 8mm versus, that's like the best stuff in this. Cinematography is the best thing about this movie.
Yeah, absolutely. And that has always been Derrickson's strongest suit. He's a really good director, and he really knows how to frame his work to get maximum scares. I always go back to you both have seen Sinister, right?
Yeah.
About Ethan Hawke as the writer who finds the 8mm films of all the murders in the previous houses.
We just don't talk about Sinister 2.
No, we don't. We really don't. Okay, Sinister, really, really good scary movie. Actually, in my opinion, one of the best in recent memory. But
depending on the criteria you use for determining scary, it winds up ranking highly because it has a very high density of jump scares that elevate heart rate. So some of the criteria when people talk about like what's the scariest movie of all time, anytime Sinister's at or near the top, the criteria they're using is like average heart rate.
There have been a couple of studies they've done where, they hook up a bunch of people in audiences. It's heart rate, blood pressure, tracking eye movement, moving in their seats, their breath. And Sinister has gotten the most amount of responses on that. And it's not just jump scares, it's a lot of it. So there are scientific factors, of course, but then you get a lot of people like, that movie didn't scare me. And yes, fear is subjective. But I still say whether or not you think it is the scariest movie, I still say it's one of the best recent horror movies, and I stand by that.
It unfortunately got a little overshadowed because it came out in the same window as Insidious and The Conjuring, which both of overshadowed it.
Which are also both incredible movies. I'd say there's room for all three. But there's this great, great scene in Sinister. Again, Ethan Hawke plays this writer who moves into a house where a family was previously murdered, and he finds these 8mm films, and each one contains a family being killed, and it is very disturbing footage. It makes you very uncomfortable to watch. And there's this one part where the family is, I think they're tied down and they're getting their throats slit. Now, you can't show that in gruesome fashion in this movie unless you're going to go full NC-17 snuff film. You have a moment where it pulls back. You have him watching it, and it pulls back to him just reacting. And you can still see it in the background or reflected off of his glasses or something. So you can see the movement, but you can't see the detail. But you still see what it's doing to him. And it is such a good shot. That stays with you. And that's the best thing about Black Phone 2 is it's like, okay, that's what Scott Derrickson does best, and I love seeing it. I'm going to agree with you that I didn't think the actors were anything stellar. I didn't think they were like god awful, but none of them I think are really going to stick with me. There was some good dialogue. I love the scene of Gwen and Ernesto talking to each other, and they're being all cute and everything, and then they forget that Finn was in the background. He's just like, I'm here. I've been here this whole time. I'm just gonna say, I love the insults they give Gwen. The thing she calls that over Christian woman, and the insults she yells at the grabber. I think my favorite is "fuck you" with a dinosaur dick. Just like, damn, that's some pretty creative insults. So this is a movie that I think I could have seen on streaming and still appreciated. I'm not gonna walk away saying, "Oh God, that was such a waste of time." But it's not going to end up on my top 10 list. And if I watch it again, it's going to be because it was on it or someone else was watching it. This is not a movie I'm going to hunt to watch again.
The acting for the chick the young girl who plays the mom, that opening scene of her in the fucking phone booth in the past, that actress is so bad. I was like, oh God, if this is like the Black Phone 2 was a the Black Phone, the original one, was a well-acted movie. And Universal's a big-time studio. I don't know where they found this girl. I don't know if she's like somebody who worked on the film's fucking daughter and like this was a favor or a make-a-wish. But Jesus Christ, she's terrible. Like, took me out. Like, I was like, oh man, I can't do 2 hours of this. Like, I was already like, oh no. Thankfully, they didn't use her all that much, but good God.
Not a strong tone setter for the acting.
The sister whom they make the lead in this, who they base the entire film around, and I would like to point out something that should be obvious, but the first film was based on the kid from How to Train Your Dragon, right?
Mason Thames, yeah.
Yeah. Good actor. Solid actor. If we actually could make stars, he'd be a star. Definitely up and coming.
I'll say, you guys saw How to Train Your Dragon. How was he in that?
Good. So
he's
a good actor, and he was good in this, and he was good in the first one. And if the movie had been about him and more focused on him, it would have been better. Instead, they focused on the actress who plays his sister, and she was fine in the first movie because they didn't have her do that much. But we live in the world where a lot of things were developed, Robert. A lot of movies were developed prior to November of 2024. And they're being released now. It's unfortunate because this movie chose to focus on the wrong actor and gave an actor who isn't as capable way too much. She sucks. She's not that good. A lot of her performance is like wildly all over the place, and not in. But that's kind of what. No. It's wildly all over the place, even when she's not possessed by Freddy. She's so wildly inconsistent. I was like, oh God. And then this is where I had to fight with myself because, on the one hand, it's every bad trope that we've already beat to death on this show, and I just don't feel like talking about it anymore. But it's there. It's all over this fucking movie. And it's like, gosh, remember a couple years ago when we were like, oh, they just got to get these last couple of years of movies out, and we'll finally be done with this. And unfortunately, we called that too soon. Like, we're still cleaning out all the garbage that's been written over the past couple of years. Like 5 years worth of crap. So anything like in development prior to November of 2024, this is what you get. Hopefully things being developed since November of 2024 and the backlash, this begins to end a bit because I've grown tired of it. And so is a lot of other people. But I'm trying to not let that ruin my movie experience. Suffice to say, just from a pure craft level and devoid of context, she's still not a good actress, and she's not good enough to carry this movie. So that kind of sucked my enjoyment out of it. The rest of it, oh God, who else couldn't act? Oh, the chick who plays the cowgirl. She has
Mustang.
yeah, she has one kind of it, entertainingly delivered line when she calls out the Christians for not being very Christiany. It's a well delivered line, and it's the best line of dialogue she has. Granted, she doesn't have a lot, but with everything else they give her, she also someone's niece because she's terrible. Um, the story is familiar. It's not particularly interesting. It's the same story we've seen before. Dead kids killed by a serial killer, not at rest. Come find us, and then the movie will be over. And Lobster. Cool. I've seen this. We've all seen this a zillion times before. You either do something interesting with it or you don't. They didn't. You know, my power is derived from your fear and from the existence of these dead kids that are not at rest. Uh-huh. Okay. I don't think anyone knows how to end movies anymore. Everything has to end in a fucking fist fight, which is probably because that's what people want. And I was something else I said recently where maybe it was Alien or something else. I was Tron. Or I just walk out and I go, does no one know how to end a movie anymore? Everything has to end in a fucking fist fight. And then I went, it's probably because the majority of the audience out there wants things to end in a fist fight because that's all they also know. Okay, cool. So
Probably not going to want to hear. They are looking at doing a third movie. Derrickson, Cargill, and especially Ethan Hawke. Apparently, he loves playing this part, and he wants to
I don't
continue
blame him
doing
for
it.
wanting a job and a good gig where he gets royalties for every time they put his mug on a hamburger wrapper. I'd want that too. Big deal. The best thing about this movie is, like I said, the cinematography, the changes in the changes in filter, how the film looks. That all was interesting stuff. The snowy landscapes I thought were pretty. It's a slow movie, but it's deliberate. And I don't mind that. I actually don't think I think the pacing works in favor of the movie, not against it. That's it. This was if I can forgive it for its modern flaws and just accept it as a piece of art, it's still a 5 on a 10-point scale. It's a 42-degree day. Robert?
You can kind of see where they changed some of the editing.
Mm-hmm.
I guarantee you the original version of this script and maybe one of the original cuts, both Gwen and Mustang are much more insufferable on the girl boss scale, would be my hunch. Let me do some positives here. I'm with you guys. Like the choice to differentiate between the dream world and the real world with the grainy film filter and the audio, because it pops and crackles, actually sounds like one of those.
Yeah.
That was a good choice. It was a really good choice. So
agreed. Yeah, the sound editing in this is really good too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of good technical stuff here. The makeup job they do on Ethan Hawke for the undead version of the grabber, thumbs up. He looks appropriately creepy.
You mean when they pull the mask off and you see like the decaying jaw and stuff?
And there's no lips, or when the top part comes off and you can see where the straps have kind of been pulled away from the skin. Like there's some good makeup work there.
Mm-hmm.
So the effects work there. Again, another pretty solid thumbs up. One of the things that we praised the original for was its commitment to making a movie that looked, sounded, and felt like it was actually of the time period it was set in.
Mm.
The original didn't feel like a bunch of people talking like they're from 2022.
Yeah.
Cosplaying in 1978. It felt like a movie from the 70s. So there's a lot that goes into that. There's wardrobe, there's attitudes, there's interactions, there's dialogue. There's a lot of stuff like that. It was a big strength of the first one. It was easy to buy into that world. This one's not quite as strong in that respect, but I do want to give them some credit. Again, the costuming works. Those are all very early 80s looking. Haircuts, early 80s looking. Costume, like that all works. The language is closer to the 80s than it is now. The problem This is down to the actors. Because Finn, the guy playing Finn doesn't have this problem. When he has to use like 80s slang, early 80s slang, he doesn't have a problem with that. The guy playing Ernie and Gwen trying to use 80s slang,
like speaking a foreign language and not knowing what any of the words mean.
Badly.
Yeah.
Like horribly accented.
So bad.
It is deeply unnatural to them, and it comes across. So I applaud the effort, because heaven knows I've been on here long enough complaining about if you setting movies in a time period like that and refusing to use the language of the time period.
Hello, fellow children.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I will always remember you complaining about Midnight Club and that no one once said all that in a bag of chips.
There's so much slang from that period of time that I was there for. I remember what it sounded like. I know exactly what it sounded like.
Remember last week when I said nobody working on these movies has any lived experience?
Yeah, not quite as true on this one, and certainly not as true on the black film. Again, they had that in the original. They had that ability to commit to the verisimilitude. Again, that's not quite as strong here. It's got a lot of the modern failings of movies. The first third of this movie or so, I was actually with it. It's not the best thing I've ever seen, but there was an appropriate amount of like general dread. Like you can see what's going on. There's a bit of an atmosphere. The motivating factors to get us to where the bad things are going to happen kind of tracked for me. Like I was willing to go with this movie. And we had some really good, some of the dreamscape stuff is really strong. Like when you're getting like the visions of the death of the kids is actually really good work.
I have to say, like, credit to the girl because like her dialogue delivery and acting sucks. But boy, can she take a bump. They threw her around like she was Rey Mysterio with the world title. Fucking beat her pillow to post, man. And she looked good to getting beat up, so yay for that.
This movie started losing me when everything kept coming back to the grabber. I was actually somewhere in my head was okay. This is going to be just one of those bad places, and that the fact that it's a very bad place is what lets the grabber kind of come back. But our story isn't going to be about him; it's going to be about dealing with the dead kids, and he's just a menacing factor that we have to account for while dealing with this other problem. That's where my head went.
Yeah, and they immediately went to Scooby-Doo to tie everything together.
And instead, he was
very
here.
badly. Was I the only one who thought that photoshopped picture of a young Ethan Hawke amongst the other counselors looked so fake?
It wasn't great. And like I said, that's where this movie really started to lose me was, no, he was here. Clearly, these were his first victims. Like, okay, no, please not. And then we just jumped the shark with, no, he killed their mother.
Okay, so that's at the end when we were walking to the car and Jonas was like, what specifically didn't I get far enough away from Lily to talk honestly? So, and Jonas is like, please tell me what you didn't like about this. I'm like, I said, the more you explain horror, the worse it gets. When you set up the grabber as the author of all your pain, James, and he is the reason for the season. He is the reason why anything happens in this movie. Nothing else can be for any other reason. I was like, this character isn't scary now. Whatever effect this character had on even like a wuss like me who doesn't like this sort of thing, there's none there now. I said this to you on Thursday with Alien Earth. Same thing. The more you explain it, the more light you shine on this thing, the worse it gets.
It also really takes away a lot of fuel that you could use for a sequel. I like your idea, Rob, that if it was a bad place where other people had died, that maybe that's how the grabber can get energy there. Opens up this whole idea of maybe that's like a network of how he could get to different places and find different people. You know, but you're going Skywalker's scene here with the whole, it has to be tied to this one family, and you're shooting yourself in the foot.
So yeah, that was just where I really checked out of the movie. This movie would have been better if we'd actually so in the interest of like prescribing some things that could have helped. I'm okay with Gwen being the one who has, like, again, the supernatural visions.
She has the shinning. Wait, don't you mean the
You want to get
shining?
sued?
Yeah, I'm okay with her being the one who has, like, the more specific visions, but the problem with giving her, like, everything, this is the problem with girl boss characters. And to be clear, this was a problem for a lot of male characters for a giant chunk of time too. I'm referencing this one because this is the current era we live in, not because male characters are immune to the following problems. When you give one of them everything, there's nothing really for anyone else to do. And Finn's the character that we followed the most in the first one. In theory, he's the one whose follow-up story we are the most invested in here. He's clearly trying to deal with the fact, with everything bad that happened to him and everything bad that he was forced to do. I talk about this occasionally when I talk about, combat sports and whatnot, because people don't bring this up enough. Being on the receiving end of violence causes trauma to the brain. Being on the receiving end of abuse of any kind, the brain does bad things. It causes problems. Doing violence causes basically the same thing neurochemically. So when you are forced to do violence, even if you are never on the receiving end of it, it still screws with your head. It still leaves bad stuff. So you've got a teenager who was on the receiving end of some bad stuff and then had to do bad stuff to survive. Boy, doesn't that sound interesting? Doesn't that sound more like something worth exploring? Instead of borderline pothead, who gets kind of sidelined for a lot of this. And that's just a mistake. Deciding to do this movie without a body count, I think, was a mistake. The first one works best without a giant an on-screen body count because the story is about the mystery and the search.
Yeah,
that's where the tension.
There's the thing. It's a very Hitchcockian movie,
yeah.
And it's essentially it's a puzzle. How do you get out of the basement? What clues are you going to do? What moves? It's actually very video game-ish, where you have to kind of memorize a set of steps and do them effectively and quickly and in succession in order to beat the boss and get out of the basement, which I think appeals to a lot of different kinds of people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so that became our driving force. We don't need to see a lot of on-screen death from the horror villain in that one because of the setup. When you turn him into Freddy Krueger, he's got to kill somebody. Like, at some point, someone else should die.
Right.
On screen. And they don't. They avoid that fairly assiduously. And
again, what would have made this effective had he killed her in the first act, or the first time he attacks her while she's sleeping. If he Nancy'd her, and now she has to communicate with. As much as Finn doesn't want to be there and doesn't want to pick up that phone, that's the only way she's going to get to him. And they work together. Her being dead and Finn being the one to help figure things out and take out the grabber. That would have been more effective.
I would have watched that.
Instead, she has plot armor because she has to live through this entire movie to make sure that she's alive to tell the senator he has to do better.
Yeah, borderline. So that's a problem.
Later, when the AI has to pick out a line from this, I hope it makes me say, and then she said, "Senator, you have to do better," and doesn't know I'm being sarcastic.
So that's a big problem for it. Yeah, I was sorely. This movie really let me down after the first act because, again, the first third I think is pretty strong, and then unfortunately they can't really keep that momentum, and it's a letdown after a letdown after a letdown after a letdown after that. It's contrivance after contrivance after contrivance. It's not good. And that's unfortunate because there are strong elements. There really are. But there's too many fundamental problems, too many foundational problems in this script, in some of the acting choices, and certainly in the story to really overcome any of it. And
To quote my fan on TikTok, less don't think, just enjoy.
Just consume product and get excited for next product. Here's jingling keys for you.
Okay, well then let me ask you guys. Let's put this question out here. Again, we know that the director, the writer, and the star want to make a third movie. What would you think about the Grabber becoming more of a horror icon, getting more of a franchise?
I'm not opposed to it. I think in a broad sense, I'm not opposed to it. I think the problem is the way you ended him in this one doesn't leave a whole lot of room.
Well, they killed Freddy for good every single movie.
Yeah, no kidding.
Again, I'm not saying you can't. I'm saying you.
Here's what I think
Even
they
the
should
other.
do. In the next one, the Grabber in hell. The one after that, the Grabber takes Manhattan. The one after that, Grabber in space.
That one after that, Grabber in the Hood.
Yes, now we're talking. And then we get the Grabber and Megan and Art the Clown and
Freddy Fazbear.
And Freddy Fazbear, and they team up to fight and even.
Look, then all the marketing will be horror icons with an asterisk, and then it'll be the new Thunderbolts or whatever.
And then you see the fucking Marvel logo in the background, like, haha, we win.
So I'm trying to play off of them turning into the new Avengers that no one wanted.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of what that would read as. And again, if you could play it off like with enough tongue in cheek, you could make it work. I'm okay with the Grabber turning into, something we see once every 3 years, give or take. I don't hate it. You just really, if you're going to make another one of these, if we're still going to be with the same kids, if it's still going to be Finn and Gwen, right? You need to much more evenly distribute what it means to be the lead of this movie, because like you mentioned, Gwen can't carry it. The actress is not good enough to carry a film.
You know what it reminded me of? Black Panther Wakanda Forever.
Yeah, I can see that.
I don't get that comparison.
Because the chick who plays Black Panther in that movie was not big enough, strong enough, or good enough to carry that entire movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, but at least in that one, they
wanted her to.
Well, yeah, they wanted her to, but at least it wasn't the case this time because Mason Thames was dead.
Well, you just had to throw that out there, didn't you? So there's ways you could go forward with this. Like I said, I'm not horribly opposed to the general idea, but my advice, for whatever it's worth, don't rush it. Like I don't need this next year. No one needs it in the next like 18 months. Like, you want to do another one of these where like what these two do is kind of like, help right the wrongs of the dead, and the Grabber is just this force that kind of follows and haunts them. I think you could make that work. I don't need it right away, and I really don't need another iteration of Ethan Hawke is responsible for every bad thing that's ever happened to you. Like that was I can't stress enough what a terrible decision that was, creatively, narratively, all of it. The mother's suicide was actually an important bit for why the characters are the way they are.
All right. For Alexis's sake, so she doesn't think I completely hate her, I'm going to answer her question this way. Another serial killer is killing kids. And what we learn is that the Grabber feeds on dead kids that are not at rest. And enough of them start to happen. And so you kind of take like the Scream thing of, oh God, no matter where we go, there we are. We go to college, this thing is happening. We go there, this thing is happening. And it always involves dead kids. And the Grabber getting, his Freddy energy from that and go from there.
But you also do have this one moving more into the 80s. So you can actually play off of the like Stranger Danger, milk carton phenomenon that
right.
that occurred into the 90s.
Because if you're just like, but you got to have a guy grabbing kid, sure. We just talked about this with Ed Gein, where everyone was very much inspired by his story, and they started doing Ed Gein-like things.
Mhm.
So what if there's another guy out there, and he's grabbing kids and murdering them, and and the spirit of the original Ethan Hawke character.
There's no
starts fucking with
shortage
people.
of people willing to predate upon children in history.
And the more you know. But yeah, if they do it
Dun,
that way,
dun, dun.
have a new real life murderer who's grabbing kids off the street using balloons in a black van. That doesn't look ominous at all. And then this, and because it's kind of like Ghostbusters 2, you've now created enough hate energy that the devil comes back. And now we have a real problem. We have the A problem of the real life killer. We have the B problem of the devil that we now have to deal with. And she's got the shinning and he's got the proton pack. We're ready to go.
Maybe even have the grabber influencing him a little bit. And after a while, he starts getting phone calls and he's got the black phone and he hears him and he's like, and he tells him, more of what to do through the phone.
Sure. We have all kinds of things happening.
Yeah, so there's ways to go with this. Just nail down your script a little bit better, and for crying out loud, don't chase modern trends. Just make a solid horror movie. We know you can do it. We don't need. Don't try to make it timely. Don't listen to the studio executive notes about stuff like that. Just avoid those, and you'll probably be okay.
All right. Don't listen to your boss is the phrase that pays here on the Radulich and Broadcasting
That is not
Network.
what I said.
Disobey orders, according to Robert Winfrey. So with that said, here comes the money.
We're in the money. We're in the money.
It's
Yes.
an unethical order, sir, and I am not bound to follow it.
I was just following orders, Fraulein. I don't know why I was talking to a girl, but it doesn't matter.
I can't imagine why you would want to say that to justify it to any of the women in your life.
It's like, look, what you do on FetLife is your business, Mark.
Let me tell you how Kat announcing her fucking FetLife handle was the highlight of that podcast for me. It's actually a really good conversation that we had, despite it all. But she's like, "Hi, blah blah yakety schmackety on FetLife," and I'm like, "You are?" Completely like, I'm like on my phone. There you are. I found you. Woo. Anyway, yes, if you announce your FetLife on here, I will look for you. Which is the phrase that pays here on the Radulich and Broadcasting Network. Moving on. All right, on a budget of like I said, $30 million. This thing has made a tidy sum of $42.8 million. As of October 19th, Black Phone grossed $27.3 million in the U.S. and Canada and $15.5 million internationally for a worldwide total of $42.8. In the U.S. and Canada, Black Phone 2 was released alongside Truth and Reason, Good Fortune, and After the Hunt, and was projected to gross $23 to $29 million in its opening weekend. The film made $2.6 million from Thursday previews. The film would then top the box office. Can we just stop right there? Robert, do you know how much I fucking hate the intellectual dishonesty of them announcing that Tron was number one at the box office, which it technically was, but that's not an achievement. Yes, it was number one in its weekend, fell to number two, as I will share with you shortly, and underperformed wildly, killed a franchise, burned down a nunnery, and ran a school bus full of children off the road. That's how bad Tron is. But by God, the commercials, number one in the world. Number one at the box office.
They had to hold on to something.
It's just marketing. You have to say something that isn't untrue.
I was going to say, majority of the quotes appearing in the commercials are talking about the soundtrack, which is admittedly kick-ass. And it's like, yeah, that's literally the only good thing that they can show.
Tron Ares, now in color, would have been closer to the truth.
Tron Ares projected to be a loss of what, 130 million, give or take, for Disney when it's all said and done.
I'll be curious to see collectively if everything that Disney lost equals what they got out of Lilo and Stitch 2.
Well, they've got Zootopia 2, which is tracking very big.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Oh, yeah. But in the meantime, we get to celebrate. Jared Leto killed another franchise.
Black Phone 2 was the number one at the weekend. It knocked Tron Ares, as I said, from down the 2. Good Fortune debuted at 3. One shitty battle after another shitty movie fell from 3 to 4. The Roof Man fell from 2 to 5. Truth and Reason debuted at 6.
Treason.
Truth and Treason, yes. Gabby's Dollhouse, the movie.
Let me do a brief shout out to Truth and Treason.
Yes. Oh, sure, of course you do. And I just saw who the distributor was.
Well, this is also a story I know a lot about.
Okay.
This is the story of what wound up being technically the youngest officially executed person under the Nazi regime.
Mm-hmm.
A kid by the name of Helmut Hubener, who, along with a few of his friends, realized how full of crap the Nazi government was and distributed leaflets about, we don't think this is a good idea, opposing Hitler, putting out stuff like that. They all got arrested. He was executed. He was like 14, 16, one of the two. I can't remember which. Again, the youngest actual, judicially executed victim of the Nazi government. The other two survived. I forget how long. One of them well into the 90s. I think Karl Heinz was into the 2000s. Point being, it's actually a really good story. What was the book I read? The book I read was originally released as Before the Blood Tribunal, but I think they changed the title to 3 Against Hitler.
Right. Gabby's Dollhouse, the movie, fell from 4 to 7. The Conjuring fell from 5 to 8. After the Hunt apparently had its
wide release.
Mm-hmm. So that jumped from 20 to 9. Soul on Fire dropped from 6 to 10. Pets on a Train, the sequel to Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
The crossover between Planes, Trains, and Automobiles and the Pets franchise.
Yes. That debuted at number 12. Mastermind debuted at 23. It Was Just an Accident. 25. Blue Moon. You Saw Me Standing Alone.
I didn't think he was going to do it, then bam, second encore. Sorry, that's Moon River.
The Man Who Saves the World. 32. Wisdom of Happiness. 33. Number 35. Fuck My Son.
Also going on your tombstone.
I was going to say, who wants to look that up on Wikipedia?
And then something over there, 36. And that was the weekend that was October. Not as exciting as in years past. I think we said last week that Demon Slayer was in the top 5. It's still there.
It's not going out until probably Zootopia, would be my hunch.
Hey, look, what's doing worse than The Conjuring Last Rites? Captain America, Brave New World, Thunderbolts.
Hang on, wait. Whoa. How far is it from Fantastic Four? 60 million? Probably not. I will... It's probably not going to catch Fantastic Four, but if it does, good grief.
Should probably point out Sinners is getting a re-release over Halloween weekend. It's funny because apparently a lot of people commented that they didn't realize it was a vampire movie. So they're saying, well, now if you want to go watch an actual scary movie over Halloween weekend,
it'll probably get, if it gets nominated for Best Picture, I fucking quit doing this. But if it gets nominated it'll probably get nominations for some technical awards.
I'm hoping it gets a nomination for Best Original Song for I Lied to You.
That's fine. I'm okay with that. Robert and I, with Gavin, reviewed it, and, there were certain things it does not deserve that it's being talked about, like Best Picture. Like I said, if Sinners gets nominated...
Or Best Original Screenplay.
Sorry, boys, that is still my number 1 movie of 2025, and I stand by it.
Well, at least it's not Guardians of the Galaxy.
You stood by Deadpool and Wolverine, too. So
yeah, and Guardians of the Galaxy 3, so, no accounting for taste. But I was going to give you a compliment before Robert hip-checked me into the fucking boards, which was at least it's not Guardians of the Galaxy 3. I have more respect for you for picking Sinners than either Deadpool and Wolverine. Fucking you and Neil. I don't know. Do you know that story where like I laughed in your face when you said Deadpool and Wolverine, and I go on Chris and Neil's show and I go, hey, let me tell you about this tart I do podcast with.
I'm a tart.
Who picks Deadpool and Wolverine as their number 1 movie of the year? Ha ha ha! And then there's Neil with a single tear.
And he then says, like, my number 1 movie of the year was Deadpool and Wolverine.
Deadpool and Wolverine. And I died.
Look, I'm sorry, but top 3 movies of the year so far. Sinners, Superman, Weapons.
Okay, so here's 3 good movies. Companion, Nanas. What else have I really liked?
Companion is number 4.
Yeah, Companion's up there. Robert, what else have I liked this year?
What's It's Nuts? The animated movie.
The Bad Robot? That was yet last year.
No. The one that you reviewed, like something about my name, or I love you, whatever.
No, Love Me was last year, unfortunately.
Okay.
But that would have been my number 1 movie for this year. That movie was so good I did 2 TikToks on it. But that alas came out last year, not this year. Give me a second, because I know I had some number 1s.
You have a list. I know you do.
Yeah.
I was gonna say the other ones on my list include The Monkey. I'm probably putting K-pop Demon Hunters on the list. Not in the top 5, but it's probably putting it on there.
It's in my top 10 because the rest of the year sucked.
So here's what I have listed at number 1 up until I stopped doing this. Companion, A Working Man, Death of a Unicorn, Warfare,
Okay,
Nanas.
you desperately need to update that.
I think I stopped doing this at How to Train Your Dragon. I need to get back. I need to actually go back and fill these in.
Yeah, you definitely need to go.
I'm at a point where I'm literally just gonna plug every single movie review I did this year with a 2025 movie, so this and triple feature, into ChatGPT and just like, could you please find 10 movies I liked? And the ChatGPT is just like, think less, enjoy more. Oh, thanks, fancy. Anyway, next week is Fra Diavolo. No. Next week is Springsteen. Deliver Me from Nowhere.
Deliver me from that crappy movie.
So let me guess, you're not a Springsteen fan like a regular American, and you hate America.
Okay. I don't hate America.
The Boss, man. How do you hate The Boss?
At what point am I required to enjoy his music?
Why do you hate Springsteen? Nobody hates Springsteen.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't know anyone who hates Springsteen.
Yes, you do.
You're not people.
I'm not including me.
Oh, really? Who else hates Springsteen?
I'll give you 3 guesses.
Your brother?
Nope. Someone you know, not
Pat, Ronnie. I know they hate
Pat.
everything.
Pat hates Springsteen.
Pat does not count. He hates everything.
No, Pat.
So do I.
Pat counts, but he's sad on the inside. All right.
I mean, the dude actually said in the group chat, "Thank God Diane Keaton died." Okay, not human.
What have I told you about outing my friends publicly for things they say privately? Anyway, so that's what we were doing next week.
Look, of all the people around Diane Keaton, of all the female actresses around Diane Keaton's age, she's not the one I wish to move on the most.
Anyway,
Way I can phrase that.
So I haven't. So I heard more about A Complete Unknown. And there were more trailers for A Complete Unknown last year. You know, for it to have gotten all the buzz that it got. Springsteen looks like it's this year's A Complete Unknown, but it has got. I didn't. Let's put it this way: the marketing on the Springsteen movie was so bad that when I saw the big cardboard thing for it at the theater, I assumed it was a document. It was like a concert movie.
I thought it was coming out closer to Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, again, it's like you expect to see much more of an uptick around the holidays. It's like, oh wait, this is coming out soon?
Well,
I didn't see a trailer for that thing until like last week.
They start Oscar movies around September, October. So it's in the window to start introducing possible Oscar contenders.
They're mostly trying to get Jeremy Allen White to be nominated because I don't think anything else about the movie will warrant it. And I don't even know that his performance will, but we'll see.
He's an amazing actor. We've loved all 4 seasons of The Bear. I'm looking forward to seeing what else he can do.
Alexis, are you aware that I did a Fra Diavolo album based on The Bear?
Of course you did.
It's called Burn the Risotto. You want to see it? You want to see the album cover? You want to see the album cover? Just say yes.
I wish I had alcohol right now. Go ahead. I brought up the sheep with the Oculus last time, so go ahead.
I'm working on it. Burn the risotto. So what I love about Robert is what I love about when I sent this picture to Robert, or I put in the group
You
chat.
posted it and I responded because you like engagement.
You're like, that's not how you make risotto. I was like, God damn
No,
it.
well, he's right. That isn't how you make risotto.
He's burning the risotto. He's the bear.
No,
the first
seriously.
thing I said was, why is the bear cooking risotto? Second of all, that's not the proper technique for that. That's not the right pan for it. You don't flambe risotto.
No, it's like if you have that much fire coming out from your risotto, I don't know where you went wrong. That is the equivalent of that scene where Homer pours the milk on the cereal and it suddenly bursts into flames.
Yep.
So So again, something about the risotto was part of, I think, season 1, wasn't it?
I don't remember. I'm sorry.
Sydney's got something.
She makes cola braised short ribs and Parmesan risotto. That was the big recipe from the first season. And I've learned to make Parmesan risotto, and it kicks ass. Cola braised short ribs.
So that
takes
was
a
what we
long
were doing.
time to make.
So that's what, like, when I was developing all of this stuff for the album. Like, the risotto was because again, what I did was I fed all of the transcripts of every one of our reviews into ChatGPT, and I'm like, make songs. And then I gave it guidance as to what I wanted to focus on based on what it was telling me it saw. And so we were trying to come up with like different ideas, because I can't do an exact like, this is music inspired by the bear. I'll get sued. So I was like, how far can we get here? And like, there's a lot of fine lines with this particular Fra Diavolo album. So yeah, it's like, the idea, the title was Burn the Risotto. It's a reference to the risotto in the show. And the original album cover, it looked like Jeremy Allen White actually who was cooking it. And I was like, wouldn't it make more sense for it to be the bear? To the actual bear doing it, which I think is also a funny image. And it was like, you're right. And of course it tells me I'm right. Right, Robert? So it does another album cover, and this is what it comes up with. And I think that's a hysterical image, and I don't see why you guys are arguing with me about this. Why
I'm
you're
not
just not
arguing with
accepting
you.
No,
the
it is a hysterical image. But again, when you're talking to two people who know how to cook risotto, although I think that is part of
who can't just laugh at something and go, "Ha, funny."
No, that's where we look at it and we go, okay, so it's where it's like scene where the house is on fire. No, mother, it's just the Aurora Borealis.
This is one I did for Erica. So on the day that she was supposed to move to her new house, she had an entire house packed up, and I kind of hung out with her, kind of keep her calm through the whole thing. She started like blurting out like song ideas for me, and again, I love my girlfriend to death, but like, she has all the subtlety of a mule kick to the face. So I came up with this album cover, and it's a 5-song EP of shit she blurted out at me while we were, and Jesse's song about his kid dropping cereal on the floor.
Does David know how much we owe him for coming up with that phrase?
I don't think he came up. I think he took that from somewhere else. But yeah, that's a hilarious phrase. And I was like, and so again, I'm asking her like, give me a song idea. And she's just like, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, all right, I will take your nonsense and make a song out of it. And I'm like, here it is. Subtlety is for cowards. I forgot to put the Fra Diavolo band name on there, but who gives a fuck?
What kills me is that I kind of want to paint that. That's
Isn't
really
it
awesome.
great?
Yeah, it's like fuck me, just let me go get my colored pencils. I want to go draw that.
See, I know, like I said, I know the arguments about this is how much I fucking don't care about this movie. I'd rather talk about this. So and Robert's like trapped here.
I am stuck between you at the moment. Yes.
Yeah, stuck in the middle with Jews. Listen.
There you go. Now you can get out.
Put him back where he belongs. So anyway,
I thought I was out. They pulled me back in.
So a couple of months ago, I had the AI do like a cover for me for one of my TikToks, and I had like a Grapes of Wrathing in mind, and it used this art style. I'm like, I fell in love with it. I think this is great. So when I was like
quasi-impressionistic.
Yeah. So when I was like, I want, as I described my girlfriend, she's like a hurricane, or a tornado blowing through my house. I was like, I want like that idea. And I just started like throwing all these ideas at ChatGPT, and I'm like, this is what I want. And I want this to kind of represent the line "subtlety is for cowards," because this is not a subtle album at all once it comes out in a few weeks. And it was like, okay, I got you. And I'm like, I would put this on my wall. That's a gorgeous piece of art.
Look, you want to make AR just for the hell of it for yourself for fun. I got nothing against it, but I am going to show you the sticker I just bought this last weekend from Joe Wass at GalaxyCon.
Okay. I like what you're doing, but here's what I'm doing, which is much better. So I finally finished a new album. It'll be out next year.
He also made this.
And it's called Master of Ovens, which is an obvious nod to Master of Puppets. These are not covers.
Convection or conventional.
So it's like inspired by certain songs, but there's still kind of like my thought into it. Like, what do I want to say about this particular thing in the world? I want to use this song to say it. And then what's great about the AI is I say, make me a Suno prompt that says Master of Puppets. But don't say Metallica or Master of Puppets. And then Suno's interpretation of what the fuck ChatGPT just said to it couuld not be further apart. It's awesome. So it really is.
Two AIs talking to each other. Who could have thought? What could possibly go
great.
wrong?
So it really does put me in the position of having to figure out between what this thing is doing and what this thing is doing, what is the best thing I can put out there for the world to ignore. And that's the album cover. I told it to Master of Puppets, but don't make it obvious. It went right. And that's what it came up with. Master of Ovens. Which is actually about like celebrity chefs and stuff. That's what that song's about.
Okay, hang on. So how many tracks do you have?
For that album, 10.
So there are each of those 10 individual celebrity chefs you're talking about?
No, just that one song.
Oh, okay.
No, every song has like a different story and a different thing about it. And
Okay.
Last one, and then I'll leave you guys alone. So I did a country album on a dare.
Of course you did.
Allegedly.
And again, this started out as shit my girlfriend blurted at me. And then I was like, all right, I've done 3 songs about sex now, you crazy person. I'm not doing an entire album of country sex songs. So then I started doing like actual...
Come on, but you've got to be able to do something with pegging to the tune of Honky Tonk Badonkadonk.
Come back to me with that, because that's brilliant, and I won't remember it, so I'm going to need you to text it to me. Anyway, so the first couple of things...
We killed Alexis.
Once again. So the first couple of things she like blurted at me, and I was like, okay, Red Solo Slut, I got that one. Hey there, Dinah. And I was like, I came up with this like whole storyline. So back when I was a kid, we used to go up to Lake George. In Lake George, one of the better restaurants up there was Grandma's Kitchen. So I was like, why don't we take the concept of a Grandma's Kitchen, this really wholesome memory I have of one of the better times with my family, and what if it was overrun with bikers and whores? And that became the concept for the album. And here's the album cover.
That cigarette is not actually in her mouth. It's just suspended in midair.
It almost looks like it's in reverse. Like she's like burning her face with it.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Anyway, that's coming out in November. That's a full album of Fra Diavolo country stuff. That's the first time I've played with the present an image thing. And I'm glad I did it with my own Fra Diavolo artwork. Want to see did you see the one I did for Jesse? Alexis, I know you saw it, Robert. Have you seen it yet? You look
Just
confused.
show her. You want to just show it? Just show it. It's okay.
Yeah, it's just like just get it over with. Okay, rip the damn Band-Aid off.
Lay back and think of England, Alexis. All right. So to explain this one, as I said before, Jesse won't let me publish all of his great works that he's done on Suno. I said, well, I want to play with I was telling Robert this before you got on tonight. I said, I want to play with the cover button. Each Suno song has a button on it. You can cover it. And I said, I want to see how far from the original genre and style I can make a new song out of what you've already done here, like a real cover. It'll let you go a little far, but it won't let you go that far, not as far as I wanted to go. So like he did like one track that was, I don't know, like chiptune or some shit like that. And like I wanted to do death metal, and it was like, yeah, I don't know how to do that. So I eventually He gave me 5 songs. He said, work with these, have fun. I did. I made 5 covers of his song, and it's set to publish on Halloween because it's a cover album. And I said, I want to call this Songs in the Key of Stiznarkey. There it is. That's my dedication to Jesse, whom I love.
I could draw you a better picture of a skull and a thing of noodles.
I don't want you to. I want one.
No, that's about the particular style. That's like borderline American traditional tattoo style.
Yeah. No, I just hate how the tattoo or how the skull is so far up. It looks like it's sitting on the edge of the bowl. I would actually put it more in the middle so it looks like it's surrounded by the noodles.
You know what I like about it? It was convenient. And I went, do a thing, and it was done. And I was like, ha-ha! Time efficient.
I have to ask, why is there a can of beans?
Oh, well, one of the songs is just eating beans.
Okay. That tracks.
And in another song, one of the refrains is a repeated, there's a 2-for-1 sale on beans. So it really kind of caught in that Jesse's got a thing with beans. Have you ever heard his Time to Eat?
I think I have, but I couldn't swear to it.
We reviewed it on the Metal Hammer of Doom last year. Full on played every single song on there, which I could do back then because there was a copyright. I can't do that with Fra Diavolo because I own the copyright, but when I do this, I'm W2M. I hate the world we live in Content ID. All right, who wants to finish the show?
Yeah, we can finish.
Oh, good.
I haven't had dinner yet, okay? I'm hungry. Let's get this over with.
I don't care. All I said was who wants to finish the show.
I've been subsisting on Swedish fish and red vines for the last.
I'm going to start showing you more of my AI art if this keeps up. Ladies and gentlemen, the critical review.
Are you ready? No! I said, are you ready?
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
I'm so mad that people don't pay closer attention to the great, beautiful AI music and art that I'm doing that I just did the equivalent of shoving it down your throat, and I've never felt happier. Anyway, the Black Phone 2.
That's kind of, you know what? It's a little high on the critical side, but all in all, that's not unfair.
I mean, 84%. I know that when I read the review of this on TikTok, I'm gonna get back, why do you hate everything? Look at it, 84%.
Dude, the fact that you got on TikTok and within 8 months turned into me.
Yep. Anyway, top critics, 72%. All critics, 73. Verified audience is 84. 81 all audience. It's...
Again, it's not that there's nothing good to be found here. It just... There's too many bad decisions.
Taking the consequences of its predecessor seriously, Black Phone 2 is a chilling sequel that mines memorable scares and thought-provoking themes from the scars that linger.
No.
Terrific.
Not really.
It does not.
Rue Fay of Cinemasters. They've lost the plot.
Helpful review.
I couldn't even capitalize the start of the sentence.
It's because they just took it's a sentence fragment from a much longer sentence, would be my guess.
I know, I just love it when it screws up that obviously.
Shaquille Lambert of CG Magazine. All in all, Black Phone 2 is a fun time, though it left me missing the original's tighter scope.
This one did actually grow my appreciation of the first one in terms of its craft. That is accurate.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Jack Martin of Film Theater. A horror sequel that largely does its job by expanding the scares without going back to itself. Yeah, by the way, I wasn't scared by anything in this movie. Transforming it into something that stands well enough on its own and leaves a solid impression.
Yeah. Again, not really.
Jeffrey Harris of 401mania.com. The Grabber, once terrifying and unique horror movie villain, now appears as little more than a derivative rehash of his predecessors. Black Phone 2 fails to catch the lightning in a bottle for a second time.
Jeff is correct.
I don't know if I'd go with derivative rehash, but
Well, what they have him doing in this one is kind of just, again, we've been saying Freddy Krueger all night for a reason.
okay, fair point.
Emma Wolf of Spooky Astronauts. I once saw Spooky Astronauts open up for Metallica in 1989 at the Nassau Coliseum. I do think it's quite solid.
I
Riveting.
imagine. I feel like she said that in the bathroom once or twice.
Friend of the show, William Bibiani, the rap top critic. It's one of the great horror sequels for about an hour. Then it's a cautionary tale about how not to make a horror sequel for about an hour.
That is
You know what?
literally exactly what Robert said.
I hate agreeing with some of these people, but yeah, that's about right.
Oh, I like William. We don't beat up on William here.
Well, we don't regularly beat up on Will. Every now and then.
The future ex-Mrs. Winfrey, Carla Hay of Culture Mix. Black Phone 2 is a suspenseful sequel with very good performances. However, the horror franchise has officially run out of unique ideas now that it's imitating Nightmare on Elm Street Freddy Krueger concept of chief villain the grabber.
Even Carla Hay gets what we're doing here. You're doing a Freddy.
It's funny. Yes, Grace Randolph. While I enjoyed Black Phone 2, it's very different from the first film. Oh, is it, Grace? And in some ways, almost experimental.
Oh, wow. Dreams. I've never watched a movie that has an actual dream sequence
This
in
is
it before.
experimental in the same way that, like, volcanoes at a science fair are experimental.
I think
Yeah.
her idea that they use the 8mm is what is experimental to her.
But she
doesn't watch art house films. She doesn't get what dream sequences are.
I doubt
either,
she's
so-
ever seen Sinister either. Again, call back to Derrickson's previous work.
or the actual 8mm. Also, the surprise switch of
She
making
could.
Gwendolyn
8mm would ruin that woman.
just in the shower forever. Grace, you have to come out sometime. No, I don't.
World's still dirty, still unclean, still not
I still hear the
clean.
crackle and pop of the unfinished film.
Also, the surprise switch of making Gwen the lead over Finn might not be well received by some fans. You think, Grace? Hey, she makes YouTube videos. Still, there are some good scares and visuals.
Again, I was fine with Gwen's getting an expanded role. I didn't need her taking the lead, and it failed for a lot of reasons.
It might have worked better had there been a better actress, but you combine a trope that's aging like milk presently with the fact that the kid can't act worth the shit, and there you go. Perry Nemiroff of Perry Nemiroff, YouTube, top critic. Black Phone 2 is well connected to the first, but it really soars as a sequel by having its own style and definition.
No.
Derrickson and co. pull that off effectively via the new location, having Gwen and Finney work together and how they evolve the grabber.
No.
Not really.
I think I have another gripe with the movie. I didn't talk about it a whole lot, but they don't actually do a lot to give the location personality. We're told where we are, but
I like the fact they did it on Hoth.
if Star Wars had balls, they would do a horror movie on Hoth.
Yeah. Tessa Smith of Mama's Geeky. Oy vey. Black Phone 2 is a worthy sequel that is both terrifying and fucking pussy, and extremely emotional. Madeleine McGraw and Mason Thames deliver career best performances.
Mason Thames, yes. Madeleine McGraw, no.
This is not even the best Mason Thames has done this year.
Whoa, you actually think he was better in How to Train Your Dragon than he was in this?
He was given more to do, if nothing else.
Well, folks, this has been an exciting and illuminating and artistic review of Fra Diavolo's upcoming catalog of the Black Phone 2. Tune in next-
Mark, there's going to be a scene in Zootopia with a bear cooking,
Yeah.
and it's going to ruin your ability to release that cover.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry. You know Disney is never going to allow you to say you made it first.
Yeah.
Oh, shit. I might need to up that's coming out in January. I might need to like release it like now. Anyway, whatever. You know what? If Disney actually
just
pays
ruined
attention,
your mood so much. I apologize for
I'm
that.
just thinking, like, if Disney actually fucking finds Burn the Risotto and says, "Hey, wait a minute, that's copy infringement," it'll be more attention than I've gotten already. That'll be fine. I made 73 cents off of Spotify releasing this bullshit. Yeah. do that a million more times, and I can pay some bills.
You know, that's the whole point of generative AI is you can do that a million more times in very short order if you really want to.
I whipped up an album tonight.
Don't
while
make me
laying
get the
in
sticker
bed.
again.
What'd you say, Alexis?
Don't make me pull out the sticker again.
I didn't read any of them the first time. I don't pay attention to you. How many times am I going to tell you that? Anyway, hey, speaking of which,
Speaking of not paying attention,
Alexis will be hosting a review of Peacemaker this Wednesday, which may or may not be on Restream. We may or may not be moving to Restream. We haven't decided yet. Sean and I are still working out the kinks on that. But we will either be doing it here on Restream. Who's else on Peacemaker?
Jesse.
Okay, cool. And then on
Poor
Thursday,
Jesse.
myself, Shay, and Mick allegedly will be reviewing Les Miserables, Phantom of the Opera, and Sweeney Todd, the Demon Barber of Fleet Street. My son actually loved that. He thought that was great. And then on Saturday,
did you show? Okay, he liked the Johnny Depp version.
yeah, that's the version.
Show him. I think it's still on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
There's a recording. There's a version of a recording of the stage production.
The one with Angela Lansbury. Yeah, it is so good.
Angela Lansbury and George Hearns, I believe, is Sweeney Todd. I have to double check the name. Because he's not the original Sweeney Todd. The original Sweeney Todd for the first run was Len Cairo, but they moved to George by that one. But yeah, show him that because they made changes when good old Tim Burton decided to do that one.
Well, Saturday, I will torture Evan Bevins by making him compare the 1985 Red Sonja to the 2025 piece of shit that just came out.
Yeah,
Sunday,
he will, in fact, give up the information you want him to give up by the time that's over.
Sunday, Fra Diavolo, Subtlety is for Cowards, which you saw the album cover, will be available on Spotify. But also, Jesse and I will be reviewing, and in theory, Pat, but probably not. These days, he seems to not want to podcast anymore. We'll be doing a triple feature looking at Darren Aronofsky, Requiem for a Dream, The Wrestler, and The Whale. I'm going to make Jesse watch Requiem for a Dream and see if he cries.
Oh. He may not be there by the time that's over, having to watch those 3 movies.
Yeah, that's a rough watch. So I'm excited
All
about
3
that.
of those.
Yep.
Found it. It's play. The whole play is no longer on there, but they've got the playlist broken down. So that's probably as good as you're going to get.
A week from tonight, we are reviewing Springsteen, Deliver Me From Nowhere. That'll just be me and Robert. Well, somebody else pops up. Alexis and Jesse will be reviewing Stranger Things Season 3. I will be on the Indie-Siders. Just me and Harry Broadhurst will be looking at Effie's Big Gay Brunch London 3 and Game Changer Wrestling's Josh Barnett's Bloodsport 15, also in London. Because I can't get out of doing 2 fucking shows. And then finally,
Bloodsport will be good.
The day before Halloween, God rest my soul, I was bullied into this. We will be doing a Tim Burton focus.
You were bullied into that. You and I have the same opinion of Tim Burton.
Yeah, I was bullied into this by Dorian, who isn't going to be on the show. Story of my fucking life. So we will be doing Edward Scissorhands, which I have never seen before.
Really?
Mars Attacks, which I actually really like, and I think it's hysterical. And Dark Shadows, because if I have to suffer, so do the rest of you.
Okay,
so
you've got one that, again, Mars Attacks, I think the humor holds up.
Mm-hmm.
Edward Scissorhands, don't let Lily watch it. You will lose her forever. That'll be it.
Anyway, Shay Tate, Mick Wanamaker, and you, Alexis, you'll be on there as well. I haven't driven you off yet.
Having to discuss one of cinema's great monsters.
Yes. All right, those are my plugs. And now Alexis will do an awkward white woman dance. There it is. I'm going to churn that butter.
Yeah, since you already, plugged all the shows that I got coming up. What did you say?
That's not the motion for churning butter.
No, I know it's not. That's the Cabbage Patch. Hang on. I'll pull it up. I got too many tabs open right now.
Picture of someone churning butter?
No, it's a picture of my shop. Thank you very much.
After the minor technical snafu that downed a third of the internet earlier.
Oh my god, this was killing me because okay, I had orders
Oh my
that
god,
had
all fucking day with this thing between my work and like stuff Sean and I were doing in this morning. I was like ready to like burn my computer to the ground.
yeah. So Handmade at Amazon is technically a separate site than just Amazon. You have to log in through differently. And I had like 3 orders that had to go out today or I was going to get in serious trouble. And I couldn't get into my Handmade at Amazon account to get the freaking shipping labels. And I'm just like, what am I supposed to do? And I spent about 2 to 3 hours just hitting the refresh button constantly. It's like, it has to clear up. It
What,
has
you
to clear up.
Mark Zuckerberg in the last 2 minutes of the fucking Social Network?
You know, I've never actually seen that movie.
Oh, get
You're
the
not
fuck outta
missing
here.
much.
All right. Yes. Honeysuckle Rose Creations, where fashion meets fandom at the intersection of geek and chic. We are getting ready for the wind down for our convention season. Going to be heading to Twin Cities Con in Minneapolis here pretty soon, followed by Planet Anime here in Kansas City, and that's going to wrap up our travels for 2025. In the meantime, our stores are fully stocked on Handmade at Amazon, as you can see here, which thankfully is back up and running, along with Etsy. You can always follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Blue Sky Suck at Twitter. I'm never going to stop saying that. That's Honeysuckle Rose Creations, the intersection of geek and chic.
All right, Robert, tell us where you do MMA stuff.
You having to actually talk with me about MMA on the Smashing Machine podcast kind of broke part of your brain, didn't it?
A lot of things have broken my brain today.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. You can find me covering mixed martial arts and professional wrestling over at 411mania.com. WWE SmackDown on Fridays, where we just sadly had Jacob Fatu go out with some kind of non-wrestling related injury. And Solo Sikoa continues to show up with the NWO black and white for too many segments. This last Saturday, I covered UFC on ESPN Plus 120. They were in Vancouver, and I ranted about the state of MMA officiating because it's bad. Fouls just don't cost you anything. I watched a man, Mark, get punted in the groin, and there was no repercussions for the person who committed the foul.
Nice. We're just letting dick shots go now?
He got the 5 minutes to recover, but still couldn't. And in fact, earlier today said I have to go in to get an ultrasound to see if they can locate.
We found it, but it was weird. It was in his pancreas.
I mean, again, we joke, but like, you remember that time Czech Congo kneed Mirko Krokop in the groin?
Yes, and it came out of his mouth.
They had to surgically recover the testicle. It got launched so far up into his body.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, and the guy who committed that foul was told by the referee, yeah, maybe don't do that again.
Wonderful.
The state of things. So I reviewed that. I previewed UFC 321, which has the heavyweight title and the strawweight title on the line, the vacant strawweight title, because of course it is. It's actually a pretty decent pay-per-view card, so give that a listen. I also talk about the California State Athletic Commission being a bunch of moral cowards abdicating their responsibilities because they unanimously said we think the American Boxing Revival Act is a good idea. It's not. It's really not. And I yelled about that. Yeah, and a few other things. Duke Rufus passed away, which was sad and shocking. Far too young. He was only like 55. Yeah, so listen to the 411 Ground and Pound MMA podcast. This Saturday, I will be covering UFC 321 over in the MMA Zone of 411 Mania, so stop by, say hello. And yeah, next week, Mark gets to try and sell me on Bruce Springsteen being a worthwhile addition to my musical repertoire.
Nobody can talk you into anything, Robert. Not nobody, not know how.
You could still try. You're the one out here making the affirmative claim that he's worthwhile.
All right. Folks, a podcast that should have been an hour has now taken twice that amount of time. So,
well, that's what happens when you just have to promote your AI.
You're right. I do. For Robert Winfrey and this dumbass, I'm I'm really mean. Be well, be safe, and behave.